Fáilte, welcome.
Ó cóide sa ceach na si an down fáilte go dtí ar chrí ar teach leias san seo, fáilte go dtí bailíoch lia, éireann tír éireó. Welcome everyone from the four corners. I'll offer a translation of my Irish, the Gaelic. Welcome from our hearts, from our healing house here. Welcome from Dublin. Welcome from Ireland, the island of Éireó, goddess of sovereignty. Fáilte, welcome all.
It is truly our privilege to be here with you. And thanks to the wonders of modern technology, our energy connection through the heart lines that come from your fair land to ours is truly felt by our Celtic souls.
Our privilege in spending time with you in this hour in the conference is to bring a traditional offering, but to call us into community, to cast a circle, as we'd say, and to offer something that is traditional here from our native shamanic healing tradition, and also for it to be poignant and pertinent and effective and real for your life and living with resilience, the theme for the conference. And resilience, of course, something that's part of conversations so much now. And of course, as clinicians, but also as teachers, the principle, the importance of resilience, very common, of course, for us in client work and in community work. Dear friends, our native tradition is one that we currently understand maybe up to 25 plus thousand years old. The tradition of Ireland, we always say, the books of the shaman are in Tír na Meo, the land of the ever-living. The books are in the Otherworld. And we hold sacred that the lineage of this island is held truly in the landscape and the earth. Ireland, of course, comes from the Irish Éireann. Éireann comes from the Irish Éireó. Éireó, one of a triple goddess, three sisters, along with Banba and Fowla. Éireó, goddess of sovereignty. And sovereignty, we say every time when we say Ireland, and sovereignty as that is meaningful to you, is embedded in our tradition to bring belonging, to bring a sacred healing, but also to bring a presence and status. Our tradition, like all world traditions, is non-hierarchical. Nobody sits above nor below anyone else. And so we really hope that our offering of Troid Nó Teith, and we'll go into that very shortly with you, truly speaks to your sovereignty, the sovereignty of your holistic health, mind, body, and spirit, but speaks to your unique presence in the world. And hopefully an offering from this small green isle, finding its way around the world, will find you by your participation, whether live or whether accessing this presentation using the recording for the first time. When we say the four corners in Irish or Gaelic, we say Kera Knassi on down. Kera Knassi on down. Kera means four, Knassi, corners, on down, the world. However, the word Knassi is also the same word our ancestors would use for healers. So we'd like to begin by simply saying that the tradition that we come from sees the four corners of the world as four cardinal healing points, four cardinal healing territories. Therefore, by definition, we are all gathering in a landscape, in a territory of healing, so that we come together in that principle of the healer, the wounded healer. We are works in progress. But we thought we'd like to share with you how our ancestors would refer to the four corners of the world, and at the same time they would be saying the four healers of the world. So may you be recognized in whatever quadrant of healing you're currently residing in this beautiful blue planet.
And of course, this wonderful gathering, this international gathering, has been on for a few days now. And John and I can certainly feel the sacred energies that have been brought, particularly to the opening ceremonies. And we feel that, as indeed we are sure that you do too. And we're conscious that we're here with you on the last day of our gathering. But we thought what you might really appreciate is an honouring of those four directions, of the earth, of the sky, and of the sacred centre in our native language. Now, some of you might have, as we say, a cúpla focal, a few words of Gaelic, but we'd like you to hear with your wise heart, the energy of these words. We are honoured in our School of Irish Celtic Shamanism to use these Irish words now and again to help our students pronounce them phonetically. And it brings the musicality, the rhythm of the land to the work that we do. So we teach through English, but we like to bring in the Irish Gaelic words to literally warm the cockles of our hearts.
We'd like to offer a preface to the healing ceremony we bring as an offering. Troid Nó Teith corresponds somewhat to the reference we would use in English of fight or flight. And this incredibly important survival mechanism in us, where we find automatic stamina to either flee a situation or to take on a situation in order to survive. Of course, in the fight or flight spectrum, there is importance to refer to that in the middle, there is freeze. And so many people with activated fight-flight complex may be experiencing neither fight nor flight, but experiencing something closer to freeze. So I just wanted to say at the outset that when we mention Troid Nó Teith or fight or flight, we're including what may be in the middle point of that continuum, freeze. And when we received the theme of the conference, Living with Resilience, something in myself and Karen's practice is we often see that resilience is always enhanced, beautified, made more sacred and nourished if the Troid Nó Teith, the fight or flight response in us, has already been activated. And if it has, to bring in healing to that fight or flight response. And in a world in which we don't have to look far for threat or challenge or something to be fearful of or nervous of, we see how normalized it has become for a somewhat triggered fight or flight response in most people to be unseen. Unseen because it's normalized. And of course, all of us share a world that's emerging now into the tailwind of pandemic. But all of us as well have individual biographies in which, by necessity, there will be legacy of challenges, perhaps traumas, perhaps illnesses, major shocks or frights. And we're not assuming anything about you or ourselves, but that when fight or flight is brought a healing, it softens that complex that's incredibly intelligent within us, but that it does, if it's sensitized, release adrenaline and cortisol. And if fight or flight has not been addressed after it's been activated, for example, immediately after something frightening or a trauma or shocking, that it can stay alive, it can stay functioning within us. And this prevents actually very resilient living. We think it answers to it, but actually it's keeping us in a state of high alert. But living in a continuous state of high alert, we see is not actually a great contribution to living with resilience. Calmness, groundedness, and understanding that we have a store of deep energy within us, but we're not using it on a daily basis unnecessarily. And so we'd like to bring healing to you, very similar to the kind of healing we would bring to somebody on an individual basis that might visit our clinic, where we're seeing that nourishing, serving, resilient living is a contribution to the holistic health of that human being. I know Karen, as a counseling psychotherapist, will meet this, of course, through that container of counseling psychotherapy. Is there anything you'd like to add to my words before I speak about how we see fight or flight energetically?
Yes, I think it's a good point John's making there, that traditionally counseling and psychotherapy is seen as working with the mind and the emotions. But so frequently in my clinic over the years, it would become very obvious that there was an energetic blockage to the client. So no matter how much awareness or cognizance they had of what was going on or what trauma might have happened, they had the inability to break through it energetically. And this is where we've seen in our clinic the huge benefits of marrying the two together. And I've been very honored over the years with my research, my doctorate research, to bring an Irish Celtic shamanic technique within a counseling model, within a psychotherapy, within a psychology model. And that has had untold benefits and really speaks to the resilience that the client has going out back into the world, into their life, to face any challenges, but with a real sense of balance, of harmony, so that they can move forward with their life in the very best way possible.
We recover substantial energy if a consistently triggered fight or flight complex is softened or relaxed. We're going to shortly offer a healing experience that has three parts. So much of ritual and ceremony in the Irish tradition comes in three parts. We talk so much about the energy of the Trinity in so many perceptions, so many phenomena. We often, Karen here has an image of the famous Triskel, the triple spiral, that's in the interior wall of Newgrange, Cairn, one of the most renowned Neolithic burial chambers here in Ireland, one that's illuminated by the rising sun of winter solstice. And of course, there is that essence of Irishness that you'll all understand when we say, to be sure, to be sure, to be sure. So doing things in threes. So our healing ceremony, we would like to say in advance, has 3 chapters, but we're not going to pause between the 3 chapters. We're going to flow between them rather than explain the chapter that comes next. So we'd like to do that initially so that there's an opportunity for flow. And it begins by saying that there's an energy medicine aspect to this healing ceremony. There's an Imram, a very old Irish word for a wonder voyage. Imram, a singular, or Imrama, plural, we'd use to refer to shamanic journeying, but also including in that would be the wonder voyages that take us to the other world. And there's going to be initially energy medicine, first chapter, followed then by an Imram, a journey to the other world that's, of course, inspired and related and nourishes the softening of fight flight. And then the third chapter, which is a blessing ceremony. Energetically, when we look at fight or flight, we see in other cultures where there's an energy medicine tradition within healing shamanism, that there's a correspondence with how the Irish culture and other cultures see where in the energy body, the spirit body, the auric field, where organized in that is fight and flight. And while the Irish didn't speak of chakras, it being a Vedic word, of course, we have folk memory of ancestors speaking of cauldrons in the spirit or in the soul. And corresponding to what would be sacral or second chakra, that energetic territory just below navel, is for the Irish the cauldron of power. The cauldron of power. And moving up 2 chakras now to the 4th heart chakra, found in the center of rib cage along the sternum, the cauldron of warming. Now, going into that word warming, it is of course inclusive of compassion, love, forgiveness, kindness, grief, all of the affairs of the heart, the cauldron of warming. And there is the understanding that in that moment of immense challenge, when fight or flight is activated in the human being, the synchronicity and the link or the bridge between the cauldron of power and the cauldron of warming needs to break. In other words, the power center within you needs to disconnect from the love center within you in that moment of survival that produces, in many cases, so much adrenaline. And to be a little bit superficial as an example of this, if we think of a moment that would certainly activate all our fight and flight, let's say suddenly a tiger starts running towards us to attack us. Well, in that moment, the cauldron of power needs to take over our entire being. Because if it does not disconnect from the cauldron of warming, now is not the time for our love, our kindness, to activate or control the situation, because if we start getting empathetic or wanting to offer love to the tiger, that's just not going to make an awful lot of sense, nor would it be very wise. So there needs to be a divorce between the cauldron of power and the cauldron of warming or love. And this is necessary, again, for us to either have so much strength suddenly from the cauldron of power that we can run away faster than the tiger, or to suddenly develop extraordinary superhuman strength and to take on the tiger in combat and to win. And the aftermath of that is often the disconnect, the separation of the cauldron of power and the cauldron of warming stays permanent. And that can be part of survivorship, but that our soul in the medium to long term cannot tolerate or accept only survivorship. The soul, we say, is in truly its own design for thriving, and therefore answering to that disconnect between the 2 cauldrons, bringing healing to Troid Nó Teith, fight or flight, can be a major contribution towards moving from survivorship towards thriving. And we always see that as a very fruitful first step towards building resilience. Our ancestors also spoke of this being organized Troid Nó Teith, this intelligent response in the 2 chakras, the 2 cauldrons, as also being organized at the same time in the other world, so that we can't speak of a physical or psychological or energetic explanation or insight into Troid Nó Teith without also something corresponding, activating in the other world. And therefore we see in our tradition, we go to the other world also to contribute towards the softening or the rebuilding of that communication cord or umbilical cord between the cauldron of power and the cauldron of love. An example of this might be, I remember a beautiful teacher of ours speaking of a simple way of understanding this is that when we go to Tir na Meo, when we go to the other world to truly understand the cauldron of power, you might find an energy there And our teacher would say, an example might be a serpent or a snake. And if you take your Imram and go into the cauldron of warming, it may reveal to you, hypothetically, this is just an example, an energy that might be understandable in the form of an eagle. Well, now we have an eagle energy in our cauldron of warming and serpent energy in our cauldron of power. And we know in the literal world of nature, eagles and serpents can be predators. An eagle can swoop down and take a serpent as prey. And he said, our teacher, that's the way to look at these two cauldrons when they're in some form of disconnection. That in a sense, they're antagonistic towards one another. One is sometimes even trying to take energy from the other because they are not in harmony. And then beautifully, our teacher spoke of that when we do this healing work in the other world, as much as in the literal physical world, when we do this healing in the other world, the eagle and the serpent learn to live together. But even more than that, they can intercourse. That umbilical cord between them can bring an energy that we could understand as intercourse. And then, of course, what comes forward as the child of loving engagement between the eagle and the serpent, but the dragon. And that dragon energy our teacher would speak of, that is a way of understanding now the place of strength and power and wisdom in the person who has, in the other world, brought harmony and synchronicity and togetherness between these two cauldrons. So hence this is going to follow the energy medicine and Imram to the other world. And then the third piece, when we come back from the Imram, is a blessing with the 4 elements into both cauldrons, bringing the blessing of earth, blessing of air, blessing of fire, blessing of water to these 2 cauldrons that are so significant in Troid Nó Teith and the response.
Now, in case you're curious, and those of you who follow the Celtic tradition, there is a third cauldron, which is our medicine eye. But in this particular technique, we're working with the 2 lower cauldrons. And from whatever tradition you follow, you might be thinking, oh, serpents, snakes. I thought there are no snakes or serpents in Ireland. Well, once upon a time there was. And remember that the Druids, who were the early medicine people of Ireland, were often known as snakes or serpents. So there's many layers to that name. And of course, we are very honored, like many places in the world, to have eagles flying over our skies once again.
And indeed, we have the gift of a very precious eagle still flying in the west of Ireland, who has dropped a feather, and we'll be using that eagle feather to create the wind, the element of air, in the blessing later on. And so we need to begin, as we always do, by asking permission. Before this presentation, myself and Karen seek permission from the ancestors to bring this. But now we need to also ask your permission. It is your discretion if you wish to grant permission for the energy medicine. For those of you that do wish to grant energy medicine, part of that is us working with the truth of energy, which can be in 2 places at the one time. And for us to bring in a sharing of your soul body, your spirit body, the energy of your cauldrons here to Ireland, so that part of the energy medicine is activated here in Ireland. And then, of course, we'll be returning that energy of your soul body back to you as that initial chapter of the ritual completes. And then we'll be sliding into the Imram, and you will hear traditional music of the Imram on Crave Aragid, which translates as the silver branch, and the music of the silver branch, a very traditional way to announce to the other world that we're coming. And we'll offer spoken voice as a guidance, and only a guidance, for your unique personal experience on the Imram. And then we'll come back from the Imram together, and then we'll ready ourselves for the blessing of those cauldrons of the 4 elements. And so we wish to acknowledge the sacred space that this conference takes place in. So let us acknowledge that already we meet in sacred space. However, for the ritual specifically, we'd like to Oscoilge in Irish Gaelic to honor the 4 directions, to honor Mother Earth, Father Sky, and the Great Spirit. We will do this here facing the camera and the microphone so that we're heard. You might like to, if you know where north is, to begin in the north. And we move diosal or clockwise 1/4 then to east and onwards to south and west. And so, dear friends, to come forward as you wish, offering and granting your permission in this sacred space, coming into, if you wish, to receive healing from this world and the other world, from Ireland and from the sacred lineage of Eru. Inish, Duig, an Moduig, Gach Niart, Gach Bri, Gach Funivata Bios Moduig, Tarcoin, Tarcoin Inish, Tarcoin. Ashincha, an Kaljak, Makthira, agus an Bradon Fasa, agus an Drolin, Tarcoin, Fela Sana, Inish, Fela Sana, agus an Gara, Tarcoin.
The direction of the north and the energies of the north, our ancestors, Little Wren, and Cailleach, the wise crone, come to us, welcome.
Agus an Moinor, an Gui, an Bailach Nor, Gach Niart, Gach Bri, Gach Funivata Bios Moinor, Inish, Tarcoin, Targadi ar Kirkel, Targadi ar Crinu, Targadi ar Shlanta, Kerp agus Anam, Inish, Tarcoin, an Trach, Fela Imbolg, Fela Breed an Banry, an Ariach an Dan, agus an Iller, Tarcoin, Donjart, agus Mother Ishka, Bio sa Dansha, agus Bio sa Tir na Mio, Tarcoin.
The energies of the east, the direction of the east, springtime. Bridget, Goddess Bridget, Matron Saint of Ireland, the eagle and the birds who fly overhead. Volcha, welcome, come to us.
An Mo an As, an Shli, an Bailach an As, Gach Niart, Gach Bri, Gach Funivata Bios Mo an As, Inish Tarcoin. An Saura, agus Fela Bialtana, an Tinna Nefa, ar Tinna Nefa, agus an Dinna Laias, an Nahar, agus an Bear, an Aisling, Tarcoin, Gach Niart, Gach Bri, Samo an As, Targadi ar Kirkelsha, Targadi ar Sharmanas Laias, Tarcoin.
The energies of the south, of summertime, the serpent, bear, the dream time, Lou and Anya, the sun god and goddess. Welcome all that is in the south. It is so.
Agus an Mo an Air, an Shli, an Bailach an Air, Gach Niart, Gach Bri, Gach Funivata Bios Mo an Air, Inish Tarcoin. An 4, Fela Lunasa, Lou, Anya, Tarcoin Inish na Fianna, an Eilet agus an Korea, Tarcoin an Shinach, Mother Rua, Dodriacht, agus an Ishkanefa, Tá going gach neart gach brí samo in air go dtí ar crinniú seo go dtí ar seamannas leie seo go dtí ar sláint a chorp agus anam. Tá going.
Energies of the West, time of autumn, element of water, Manan Maclir, great god of the seas, the deer, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, all that is in the West. Welcome. It is so.
Agus inis ar bhóthair sa Ileán seo éarú anú danú. The corp nefa sa Ileán seo the corp nefa ar fud an domhan agus na fargaí atá idir oring. I sin do fáistí á bhóthair the corp nefa the ceannis á bhóthair nefa faoi gach duine sa cruinniú seo an talamh nefa faoi ar seamannas míle buchas ar bhóthair nefa.
Mother, Danu, Mother Earth, we are here from many places on your earth, and we give thanks for all that you offer us of abundance, generosity, fertility, and fecundity. We give thanks. We are here. It is so.
Agus inis ná dúirt tá suas gach neart gach brí sa spéir an neachar an spéir. Solas an domhan an grian the hollas ar hollas the honnas ar honnas agus a rith an ihe the hollas a corp an gealach ó seanmhóthair an gealach agus a corpan in na réalta agus a rith an ihe solas ar céad baile an céad crochú I láir bailach an bófinna brú na báine. Túchad I danam gach neart sa spéir an neachar an spéir buchas le gach.
Dagda, Father Sky in the heavens above, Sun God, Grandmother Moon, the great Milky Way, the angelic realms, all that is above. We give thanks. It is so.
Agus inis sa lár nefa an crí is teach inis sa crí. Ag oscailt, ag oscailt, ag oscailt. Go dtí an dúlamh, le céile an dúlamh. Aontas, aontas, aontas.
Spirit, God, Goddess, source of life, source of love. You are part of us, we are part of you, and all is one. 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 It is so.
And for those who give permission now, we call in here now the sharing of your spirit body.
And the heart lines from your lands to ours.
Allowing us to bring now healing energy to your cauldron of power, your cauldron of warming. And we invite you now to choose to sit or to lie down so that you can comfortably place the palm of one hand just below your navel into the cauldron of power, sacral chakra, second chakra, and holding one hand, feeling the gentle pressure of your hand against that territory of your physical body. Allow this now to call your breath downwards, so that your inhalation moving down in your body, breathing deeply and slowly, finds itself wandering downwards into that territory behind your hand, breathing as you inhale down deep into the cauldron of power. Allow this now to become your breathing, exhaling gently. And as you inhale, allowing your breath to drop down deep into your body, to wander down, so that you're breathing deep into your cauldron of power. Breathing now deep into your cauldron of power to bring the palm of your other hand to your cauldron of warming, heart chakra. As you breathe in, allowing your breath to wander deeply down into your cauldron of power. And then as you exhale, allow your breath to rise upwards towards your cauldron of warming. See your breath now like a go-between. As you inhale and exhale, the movement inwards, downwards to cauldron of power. And then as you exhale, the movement outwards and upwards, finishing and visiting cauldron of warming. Seeing your breath now like a go-between, a communication cord, an umbilical cord, illuminating the bridge between cauldron of power and cauldron of warming. We bring now here our hands to your cauldron of power. We bring our hands now to your cauldron of warming and hold you as your breath shines a light on that bridge, a communication cord or umbilical cord between your cauldron of power, your cauldron of warming. Allow your breath to do this work for you. And as we hold your cauldron of power and your cauldron of warming, allow our hands here now in Ireland holding you to take any energies from your cauldron of power, your cauldron of warming, that prevent in any way this strong cord of connection, communication between cauldron of power and cauldron of warming. As our hands now, with your permission, take from those cauldrons any energies that prevent harmony, connection, partnership in all of your life that is power, in all of your life that is love. Allowing your breath now evermore to bring you into the feelings and sensations of your power center, hand in hand with your love center. Allowing your breath evermore to bring you into the feelings and sensations of living with all of you that is love, hand in hand harmoniously with all of you that is power. perhaps keeping eyes closed as you hear the music now of the Imram on Crave Argid. Trusting your breath, bringing you downwards, once again into your cauldron of power. Follow your breath, calling in now any helpers, guides known to you in any of your healing, mystical, sacred life, calling in your guides to travel with you downwards with your breath into that territory of your physical body where you hold the palm of a hand just below your navel, breathing down now, following your breath, calling in all of your guides, arriving now into that place of power, allowing yourself now, with the help of your guides, to find a doorway that once opened will allow you to see the pure energies of your power. With the help of your guides, open now that door into the cauldron of your power, to see your power made visible to you. Your power may become visible to you in the personification, perhaps, of an animal or an ancestor or a plant or a stone. Give permission now for the cauldron of your power to truly become visible to you in a way that is healthy, safe, and sacred for you to see. Seek any assistance from your guides. If anything now of your entry into the cauldron of your power is unclear, or any assistance you need, allow that to come from your guides as you enter the cauldron of your power. What do you see? How is the cauldron of power offering you energies? How is the cauldron of your power asking you to turn up in relationship with your power? Breathing deep into the cauldron of power, becoming alive now to how you are growing the power to be a being of power, the power to hold power. Relationship. Allowing now your breath to know that it can return to revisit the cauldron of your power at any time, as once again the music of the Imram brings us further upwards. Allowing now your breath as you exhale to bring you upwards towards your cauldron of warming, cauldron of love. Following your breath upwards, traveling with your guides, approaching now the cauldron of warming, allowing yourself to see before you a doorway into your cauldron of warming, readying yourself now for opening that doorway to see revealed to you all of the energy of your love, compassion, kindness, forgiveness. And as you open the doorway to your cauldron of warming, do so in companionship with your guides, allowing yourself now revelation to see how your energy in the cauldron of warming speaks to you in a way that is safe, sacred, healthy, for you to see and understand all of the energy in your cauldron of warming. Notice how it feels to have opened your cauldron of warming. Become alive to all that is available to you in your cauldron of warming. Become alive now of what is asked of you to bring to your cauldron of warming, so that there is relationship, care, protection of your cauldron of warming. Feeling the gentle presence of your hand in the center of your rib cage. Remembering now the lower hand at the cauldron of power. Breathing in now to knowing these two territories in the other world. Seeing now how your power, how your love is held in the other world, in oneness with all you experience here in the ordinary world. We invite you now to receive blessing for all of those energies discovered in the open doors to the cauldrons of power and the cauldrons of warmth. Releasing your hands downwards now, and by doing so, with intention, keeping those doors open so that now element of earth comes to bless all the beings, all of the energies in the interior of your cauldron of power and your cauldron of warmth. As we bring now the healing energy of time, element of earth, bringing now the element of air, brought to you from the wind of the eagle feather, allowing that sacred air now to find its way into the open doors of cauldron of power and cauldron of warming. Receive now. As we bring element of fire now into the open doors of cauldron of power, cauldron of warming. Receive now element of fire into your cauldron of power, cauldron of warming. Receiving now from element of water through the open doors of cauldron of power and cauldron of warming. So we bring the blessing of sacred seawater. From here, from Ireland, we return now the shared sacred energies of your spirit and soul body and return to you. We invite now that you bring both hands to your cauldron of warming, bringing both hands into the center of rib cage, restoring, bringing fully back in. We invite now that you bring both hands gently and slowly downwards, just below navel, restoring fully, cauldron of power. And breathing now into any feelings, sensations, allowing yourself to feel into what it's like to be you, here and now, having received from this world and the other world restoration, retrieval of Troid Nó Teith. Our Irish word for healing is lias. It is also the same word we use in our language for retrieval. Allow yourself to have retrieved what was always yours. Allow yourself now this harmony, oneness, togetherness in all of you that is power, in all of you that is love. Together, your cauldron of power with your cauldron of warming.
And we offer Mila Buikas 1,000 thanks. Aguia Duig to the energies of the north, the time of winter. Sha.
Sha.
Agui Anor, the energies of the east. Mila Buikas. Sha.
Sha.
Agui Anas, energies of the south, of summer. Mila Buikas, 1,000 thanks. Sha.
Sha.
Agus Nyart and air, energies of the west, autumn. Mila Buikas. Sha.
Sha.
Danu, our water, Mother Earth. Sha.
Sha.
agus dagda, Father Sky, Sha,
Sha,
agus Spirit, Aintus, 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 Shine.
Shine. Mille buchas or corjas, a Carrick Nasi on down. Thank you for the consideration, for turning up to join us. We sincerely hope that your receiving continues. We sincerely hope that your investment of your valuable time and energy is rewarded and blessed by coming into circle with us this day.
Shine. We would like to thank the Society for inviting us to come once again, a second year in a row, to offer something from our tradition. And we open now to any questions. We'd be delighted to offer any answers. And Lally, we thank you once more for your help with this.
You're so welcome, Karen and John. So appreciate you sharing these Irish shamanic traditions with us, and I have this nice warmth in my belly now. I think that's from this practice, because I have a whole nice warmth thing going on here, so it's really nice. We have a Q&A at the bottom here. If anybody wants to click on that and put a question to Karen and John, please do so. I have a couple questions myself that I can ask if no one does, but if anyone wants to ask you guys any questions, go ahead and put that in the or a comment. It doesn't have to be a question, a comment or question.
Sure.
That'd be great. We don't have anything open, oh, here we go. Just from Kathy saying, thank you for this incredibly powerful healing. Blessings to you both. And from Nanette, thank you, heart. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Nanette. Thank you, Kathy.
From Loria, very beautiful. Thank you. So important, so authentic. And I have a question from Monica. What is Shanae? You said it at the end. Is that thank you?
Great question. In many traditions, you might hear ho or aho or amen. So sha, that is repeated in each of the directions, is short for it is. And it is, I have spoken. And often the gathering will echo back sha, isha, meaning translating as we have heard you. So Shine translates from the Irish Gaelic as that's it. Basically, that's all, folks. And it sounds more poetic in Irish, but it's that beautiful sacred full stop, so to speak.
You'd always say Shine when something has come to a closure. We have fun with many French practitioners who might visit us in Ireland, and they're wondering why we're saying cat after each direction, as we say sha. Yeah, but of course, yeah, sha. And we'd still use, even in casual conversation, sha would be used to communicate yes, or as you'd say in the United States, yup. So it's a way of acknowledging and giving gratitude after each direction. But then Shine is the concluding statement of so be it, or it is, and blessed be.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Monica.
Okay, we have from Orinda Healing International saying, what a beautiful blessing. May it be returned to you 1,000 times.
Oh.
We receive.
Thank you so much.
1,000 thanks.
And from Rachel, we have, I've been working with shamanic traditions from around the world for a decade. Can you tell me how to open the Gaelic traditions of my bloodline? My bloodline is Celtic, and I know I have gifts within these traditions.
Oh, this is sharing that is so familiar to us from many, many people in Ireland, visitors to Ireland, and then, so many of the international community that we hold during trainings or rituals and ceremonies. And we'd certainly invite you to explore that Celtic lineage alive in you. The offerings we can place before you are things like our introduction to Irish Celtic healing shamanism, which is 3 tutorials with accompanying soul work and practices, where we offer, myself and Karen often refer to ourselves as gatekeepers to the Irish lineage, so that the introduction is an opening of those gates for you to find personal residence and resonance with ritual and ceremony, ways of being, hearing about the Irish lineage and our heritage, and taking that into your life and making it your own, so that it adds to what's already a very substantial body of practice and, in all likelihood, mastery with you. So that, that Celtic gene, or that Irish gene that's within you and within so many people, just allows a resonance to grow and a sense of meaning and a sense of belonging, if that flourishes with your resonance. And so many people come to us and avail of the Irish tradition through our trainings, who may not even have any genealogy that brings them back to Ireland originally. And we always say, we have a bloodline, but we also have a light line. Or we'd say here in Ireland, the milk line, milk allowing us to see what light looks like. And the milk line, the light line, is often illuminated for us when we find real resonance with any tradition or any culture that allows us to feel grounded, but also coming home to ourselves, or really just opens us up in a way we've always longed for, and to really trust that resonance.
And the Moonmana, the women's end of Shlian Cree, the pathway of the heart, I often offer the women I train as Moonmana circle facilitators, I would offer them different ways from the Irish tradition, but I say, please sit with this and see what resonates with your Celtic soul. And it might be honoring the elements or the directions. Sometimes when you think of your homestead, perhaps the north, there are mountains, your local mountains. Perhaps to the east, there's a river or a lake. In the south, it might be a meadow. It might be a town. It might be a sacred site, and so on. In other words, there's the making of it your own, what really speaks to your heart.
And just to say that Samhain, which is the cross-quarter time between autumn equinox and winter solstice here in Northern Hemisphere, Samhain corresponds with Bealtaine, the beginning of summer in Southern Hemisphere. But Samhain is, of all of our native seasonal festivals, highly, highly honoured for ancestral connection. We say at Samhain, the veils between the worlds are at their thinnest. And it's our native New Year. And the folk tradition of Samhain is, of course, the last weekend of October. It's the festival that has given the world Halloween. But the astronomical precise time of Samhain, many practitioners will know, and that exact cross-quarter day falls on November the 7th. And it's always a traditional beginning of many journeys of all kinds. And so the Irish shamanic journey begins at Samhain with the north direction, and we hold that gate into the Irish tradition for those who really wish to embrace it in a deeper way as the medicine spiral. And this 4-season calendar year training begins in the first weekend of November, so that that may speak to some of you, and you can learn all of the details around that, of course, from our website. But just to say, because the conference for us is happening at such a precious time, this Advent into Samhain, many of us here in Ireland really getting ready for that great creation of time and space, for we hold at Samhain that new time and new space creates itself. And we talk about a hiccup occurring in the turning of time at Samhain, and in that sacred hiccup can be sacred beginnings, and hence the traditional beginning of the shamanic journey or shamanic apprenticeship in early November.
Well, thank you so much, Karen and John. We do have a few more questions, although we have gone over, so I wonder if I could give you them and you could answer them pretty quickly. Not too quickly. We have one from Rachel saying, "Is this all connected to Scottish? Is this connected to Scottish traditions?" And we have Jen asking the symbolism of your necklaces, the round you have there as well.
Well,
And then the third is saying, do you offer a visual Samhain ceremony? So I know you guys probably do that as well. So those are three questions we have up. Again, we've gone a little bit over, so but we can stick around a few more minutes if you want to answer those.
Well, very quickly, the Celtic tradition encompasses the Irish, the Scottish, the Welsh, the English, the Northern France, down as far as Spain and even Portugal. So the Celts, as you know, covered a lot of Europe. And when they came to Ireland, they became the Gaels, and that's the Gaelic language. So there is a lot of beautiful interweaving, particularly with Bridget, the bringer of spring, and the Cailleach, the bringer of winter, between the Irish and the Scottish traditions. And indeed, our languages are fairly similar. John had the wonderful opportunity to speak with the last Scottish Gaelic speaker on the island of Mull, and they both understood each other.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there would be, of course, great fellowship between ourselves and Scottish culture, and ancestrally, of course, there would have been a land bridge once upon a time between the north of Ireland and Scotland. However, there are nuances and differences. This is the land of Eru, and there are nuances and differences between all of the Celtic traditions, but we do see a great kinship with that of Scotland. And yes, we do have offering of a Samhain celebration. It's on our YouTube channel, and our mailing list, which you can access by going onto the website, is sent out at the 8 festivals, and part of the information is how to access a participatory ceremony for that seasonal festival. And of course, Samhain is the one coming next. So indeed, yeah, that is available to you. And again, we call upon traditional practices in those ceremonies and rituals.
And of course, we'll be starting the medicine spiral for anyone called to that at Samhain. We're also participating in a local live gathering where a dear friend of ours who works with the food our ancestors would have eaten is having what's called a long table feast, where we're bringing the stories and the rituals, and she's providing the food our ancestors would have eaten. So that's very, very special. And are we giving the game away, Lally, about next year?
Do it.
Oh, so we have been invited by the Society starting at Imbolc. We're going to offer the 8 Celtic festivals to all of the members. And we'll be starting with Imbolc, but we'll be working through all 8, and we'll be finishing up at Samhain next year. So that's very exciting.
We're so excited to have this.
2 of those questions, I think, in a very long-winded
Yes.
way, which was not your
I'm sorry.
instructions.
No, it's fine. Well, we're going into lunch, so we have a little longer of a time. But what about your necklaces? What's that?
So
And also,
these
let me
are-
just say before you answer, I have put your guys' website in the chat so people can get that there. It's also on the bios on the portal, so you can go back and look at their information there.
Oh, Lally, you're a wonder. So these are what are called torques. I'll just give you a closer look. And they're a very important part of ancient Irish jewelry. You can see that these ones are worn around our neck, but there is an equivalent worn, a bracelet version. And this, our throat chakra, this is where our spirit voice, our authentic voice comes from. And the idea is that this is, we're speaking with our sovereign voice. So in other words, there's a support, but this part is open to speak from. And also with the bracelet, this part of the hand is open, the hand of friendship, the red hand of Ulster. So it would speak of, there's a vulnerability here, and there's that openness. It would be on the lines of an open and protected heart, a little bit like a beautiful rose, but she has thorns. So in other words, here's the support, and here is the vulnerability, beautifully interwoven together.
We would wear the torques only in sacred work. Mentioning, how Ireland comes from Erin, which comes from Eru, the goddess of sovereignty. Wearing a torque asks you to be in your sovereignty and for, yes, expression of truth, but also to hold yourself to account to your own sovereignty. So no self-minimization, no self-aggrandizement, to truly be in a self-sovereignty so that you can be authentic and you can be of service, of reciprocity with other beings. And it's a beautiful part of our tradition, the torque worn around the neck or the wrist. But yes, thank you for asking, because it's brought me back to mentioning the principle of sovereignty that is so woven into Irish identity, but also the Irish tradition. And so, yeah, we wear this so that we can be as sovereign as we can be, that we can be Ilovina or Shinshir, to be in the arms of our ancestors when we are of service in any kind of way.
And particularly when we offered the Irish Celtic rites of passage. It's a really beautiful part of our tradition and offered on the medicine spiral, so that John and I, in the act of putting on our torques, and we're so blessed to be a couple doing this work, and many students come to us for that harmonious balance between the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. So in that tradition, I put on John's torque and he puts on mine. Now, obviously, you just saw me take it off and put it back on just for the purposes of demonstration, but we come into that space to offer these rites of passage, and we can feel the presence of our guidance and spirit really support us so hugely with that, and it is such a privilege.
TORC is how we spell torque. TORC, yeah.
Well, quite a few people expressing their thanks. Anne, Kathy, Rachel, and Kathy again thanking me. Thank you, thank you. So I would just love to thank you guys so much for coming from Ireland and sharing your traditions, and just a very inspiring session. And thank you so very, very much. We really, really all appreciate it. And I hope you have a good rest of your evening. And if you can catch any of the more sessions, though you probably have to go to bed pretty soon. But we're so happy to have you. Thank you so very much for sharing.
Our privilege. And may we truly see our resilience as sacred living. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mila Brightness, 1,000 thanks, Lally, for all you do and for the society.
You're so welcome. So happy to do it. Thank you so much.
Mashiv Blair. Banachthi, Slán.
Okay.